Chris, what is our second main topic today?
This comes from Notorious GTR. Good Wednesday, crew. I get it. I know the likelihood of Doctor Strange 2 getting an R rating was always unlikely. But watching all the trailers and clips, I thought there could be a chance it could. Besides, looking bonkers, it also looks extremely violent. So my question is, do you think with the official PG-13 rating that we shouldn't expect too much violence from the movie? What do you guys think?
All right. Thanks a lot for saying that in. And yeah, listen, this is a conversation that comes up all the time whenever a movie. Everybody, for some reason, always expects or wants their comic book movies to be rated R. For some inexplicable reason, thinking that dropping more F-bombs will suddenly make the movie better or whatever. But be that as it may, whatever. I get what you're saying, though, because you would be forgiven. Look, we all knew Doctor Strange 2 was going to be rated PG-13. And for those of you who did not see, the official news did drop. Doctor Strange officially got its PG-13 rating from the MPA, the Motion Picture Association. It's now official PG-13. We all knew that. But to be fair to you, you could be forgiven if watching the trailers and some of the clips, you thought that, oh, maybe this thing could be an R thing, because you're not wrong. It looks stupid violent. I think it looks really, really violent. From, a lot of stuff like the sword blades, whatever, a lot of blood, whatever. We'll talk more about that a little bit later. You would be forgiven of that. Now, the question then becomes, do we need to be worried at all about how much there will or will not be as far as violence in this thing, considering it's PG-13? And I would say, I don't think we have to worry about a lack of violence in this movie. Look, we've seen, like, love or hate Morbius. There's a lot of violence in Morbius. Yeah. There's a lot of violence in Morbius. Love or hate, Venom. There's a lot of violence in Venom. And Venom 2. And things like that. In Doctor Strange, I think you're going to be dealing with a lot of interdimensional monsters, robots, and an unspeakable number of other potential things. Maybe even damn dinosaurs. We saw dinosaurs in one of the things, right? And one of the things that we've known about the MPA and ratings for a long time is, just go back to that, I can't remember if it was whichever crappy Transformers movie it was. I can't remember if it was 2 or 3 or 4. But literally, Optimus Prime pulls a giant sword out of his arm and literally starts decapitating, running Decepticons through the gullet and then decapitating them with one swings. Guess what? PG-13, because in TV shows and movies, you can kill whatever you want as long as it's not people.
Yeah, it's just robot violence.
Yeah, robots, aliens, creatures of the night, whatever, you can kill them with absolute impunity when it comes to the ratings board. It doesn't matter. You can do that. And I think there's going to be a lot of that in Doctor Strange. Now, also going back to, say, like something like Morbius and the Venom movies, in those movies, there's a lot of violence against people, but you just don't get blood splatter. And as long as you don't do blood splatter, they're pretty okay with giving you a PG-13. So I would say this. I think we can pretty much guarantee we're not going to see Doctor Strange and Rachel McAdams rubbing uglies. PG-13 probably not going to get that. Boo. You're not going to hear America Chavez dropping 18 F-bombs. Okay, but as far as the violence goes, I don't think we should lower our expectation quota for violence in this at all. I don't think this really means anything about that at all. Anyway, Chris, it's official. It is what we expected. It's a PG-13.
Yeah.
Do you think that puts any kind of limitation on it from outside of stuff we'd be expecting anyway?
Not at all, because we can murder all kinds of fantastical beings.
Right.
Oh my gosh. We can go totally bananas with the violence here, as long as the blood doesn't bleed red. That's really the big thing. That's why Morbius, with its lack of blood or blue blood Capri Suns or whatever the hell that was, they could do whatever they wanted, right? We'd even hear like the gush of stuff. We just wouldn't see the blood, which was very, very interesting. So we can do a whole bunch of things here with Doctor Strange. We can have a whole bunch of different multiversal beasts showing up. All the different things we saw with kind of that sinister Strange, right? And the what if. We can have all those kind of weird Cthulhu-y things show up, and he can be chopping off tentacle arms and doing all kinds of stuff. Wanda could be covered in blood. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But as long as we're not seeing it pour out of somebody and her just putting all over herself, a la Carrie, you can have that in there.
A la Carrie.
You can do so much stuff without showing the R-rated level of violence. And honestly, I would argue that most of the time your imagination is going to be worse than the actual thing you would see. It goes back to women in refrigerator syndrome, right? When you see that image of a few limbs hanging out of the fridge, that's so much more terrifying than if we had actually seen somebody dismembered in that Green Lantern comic.
What area of town do you live in?
I know. I'm like, what is happening in your refrigerator?
Hey guys, we want to take a moment and thank a sponsor of today's video, HelloFresh. So guys, look, my wife Ann and I were both working professionals, so we know how tricky, difficult, and time-consuming it can be to try to eat properly and prepare your own meals at home. And that's why, like over a year ago, we started using HelloFresh. With HelloFresh, you get farm-fresh, pre-portioned ingredients and seasonal recipes delivered right to your doorstep. I mean, you skip the trips to the grocery store and count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and probably most importantly, affordable. HelloFresh offers the flexibility you need to easily customize your orders online or right in the app. Easily change your delivery day, food preferences, and plan size, or skip a week whenever you need to. HelloFresh is 72% cheaper than a restaurant meal of the exact same quality, and you can save on average over $65 a month when you order HelloFresh instead of going grocery shopping. So guys, I'm telling you, whether you are single or have a family, you are going to love HelloFresh. So go to HelloFresh.com/Campea16 and use the promo code Campea16 for up to 16 free meals and 3 free gifts. That's again, HelloFresh.com/Campea16 and use that promo code Campea16 for up to 16 free meals and 3 free gifts. HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit. Hey, Erin, you hear about this. Any surprise at all about the PG-13 rating, and does it cause any concerns for you?
No, not at all. I mean, all it tells me is we're not going to see anybody's nipple, man or woman. And the level of violence, even when it comes to blood. I mean, if you look at some of the more violent films where we're talking about Dark Knight, Jaws, those are PG/PG-13 movies. Taken, one of the most terrifying and gruesome, not gruesome, but terrifying films that I've seen in the last several, decades, for what it just does to the system. Gremlins was PG. I mean, there's so many movies that are terrifying or that show a lot of blood, like Jaws does. But again, it all depends on, I think, the context of where we're living now. Like if Airplane, for example, had come out, Airplane, the movie that was in I believe the 70s, there's a lot of sexual innuendo. There's even a little bit of nudity. We actually do get to see some nipples in that one, I believe.
1980.
I love that you know that right off the top of your head. There's language. That was a PG movie. But at that time, there were certain things that were a little bit more accepted than they were now. Who knows? Perhaps we're going to have some sort of crucible-like time period in the future where violence is so vehemently opposed that movies like The Dark Knight or movies like Doctor Strange that do have a certain level of violence, whether it's to humans or to intergalactic beings, will be looked down upon, and in 30 years people might go, can you believe that wasn't rated R? But it's not a shock right now. This is just what audiences are used to seeing and what they're expecting to see.
And in the UK and some European countries, they do look at violence a little bit differently and will give a stiffer rating. By the way, Matrick Brunick in the live chat points out to us, hey, in the Doctor Strange 2 trailer, we do get some Benedict Cumberbatch nipple.
What?
Oh, yeah, he wakes up in bed.
Oh, yes.
Well, yeah, you can
Topless.
show dude nipple.
Oh, yeah, dude nipple all over the place. Dude nipple for miles.
Well, then we should be able to see lady
practically
nipple.
the subtitle of the movie. Doctor Strange.
Doctor
Dude
Strange
nipple.
and his dude nipple.
Yeah.
All right. Rob, you hear about this. Any surprise, any concern? What do you think? And did you ever think that maybe there could have been a chance it could have been rated R?
No. Look, it for me, and I think for the ratings board, it's all about tone. How is this violence presented? Now, as Chris pointed out, when you have mystical beings or mystical beasts, there's no chance that this is going to happen in the real world. So when you're watching this kind of thing, you're not being subjected to the horrors of, say, real violence. But now you do the flip side. You go to watch like Mir Zarchi's I Spit on Your Grave, the original.
Oh, jeez.
I mean, the level of violence, physical, sexual, is awful. And it's presented in a very realistic fashion. It's incredibly disturbing to watch. when you're watching Doctor Strange, you're not thinking that way, even though, there's a giant, whether it's a Cthulhu-like demon or whether it's a guy with a third eye or his flesh is decaying off him, zombie, Strange, whoever, you're not hit viscerally the way you would be if you're watching, say, people running on the beach and Saving Private Ryan, getting gunned down by Nazi bullets. And it's very, very different. Even the difference in something like an X-Men movie and Logan. Logan presents Wolverine unleashed, and the actual act of watching his adamantium claws penetrating flesh and killing dudes with blood splattering, that's a very different thing, because it's brought home what is actually happening. And I think that all around Doctor Strange, you've got so much fantastical, even the colors of the color palette of the movie is such that it's got an unreality to it. So it casts a spell that doesn't allow it.
See what you did there. Okay.
It's not like it is watching more viscerally presented realistic violence. And I think that that's a big part of it.
Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? I think probably 99% of you are expecting it to be PG-13, but it does have a lot of horror elements in it too and stuff like that. Maybe you thought it could have been rated R. Does it make you temper your expectations? Probably not, but whatever your thoughts are, jump on down to the comment section below and leave those thoughts there.